All right, welcome back to the DNA Pest Control Podcast. Daniel.
And Aaron.
How's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
Good. Actually, really good.
Yeah.
It's nice. You like the new gear?
Yes. I was out all day teching, came back and got to put on this nice, dry, breathable shirt with their logo on it. So
there you go.
It's cool.
It's nice. Cool. I like it.
I can
tell by your boots. So now they can actually see that we do actually go out and work in the field.
It's real.
It is real. So it's the end of the month.
Q&A.
It's the Q&A.
Yes.
It's what we do, what we look forward to. And thank you everybody for actually sending in your questions.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't have the Q&A segment without you guys.
Definitely.
So thank you.
Yeah. A lot of good questions lately too.
Yeah. Before we get into the questions though, let's hit a recap.
Okay.
Hold on. What's cool is if you watch, you actually get to see what I just did.
Yeah. You get to see the look I just gave him too.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, dang. Well, now I got to go back and look. Okay. So if everyone remembers on the last Q&A, we did have someone, actually, he did give me permission to use his name. So Brad sent in a question about his business and getting started at 58 years old.
That's right.
We did have a lot of questions for him from the last Q&A. And actually, thank you, Brad, because the other guy did not send anything back to us, which I know is a little bit harsh. And I did apologize, so he can't be that mad. But thank you, Brad. That was actually cool that you did send this in. And he kind of hit some points. So he said my why. One, I want to stay married. Come on, Brad. Don't say this. Don't do this to yourself. He said, I want to stay married. I've been married to my bride since 1985. So I need to keep the guaranteed income. That is a good drive. That is a good why for the family, not necessarily the bride part of it or married, but at least for your family, that makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
Because she should be a ride or die. She should be going through it all with you. So whether you got money or not, shouldn't matter. Two, that he put on there is, I don't want to babysit technicians any longer. Yes, I'll always be working in, not on my business. I got to give Brad this. You're not dumb, Brad. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
You are paying attention and you understand what you're getting yourself into. That's good.
Yes.
I appreciate that. This one, he did put warning. Exterminator humor follows. I want to be found dead, and this is still part of his why.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to be found dead in a crawl space looking for termites when a family comes home from vacation and sees my truck in the driveway and says, oh, Brad must have found a dead rat in the crawl space. Someone grabbed the deodorizer. By the way, I've been twisted. Okay. Yeah, we know. We're all twisted minded. Okay. We're in the pest control world. We get it.
Safe space here.
Desensitized on all levels.
Yeah.
So we're good. We understand. And the last one, he said, I absolutely love this industry. I consider my business as a hobby. I love educating customers as much as they want to know. And they don't want to know much. Just get the pest gone. And that is very true. Very true. Okay. That's all good. He did have something else in here. Brad, once again, I don't know what you're talking about. So please, you gotta help us out a little bit here.
Yeah.
But he has Lenny Gray's Start Technician. I wonder if that is the name of the book he's talking about.
Maybe.
You gotta help us out, Brad.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyone know? He's asking. Anyone know this guy? I was Lenny Gray's Start Technician in 1999. Okay, so Lenny Gray is a guy. Okay, so who's Lenny Gray? Does anyone know who he is?
Hold, please.
He wore me out to the point where Big O had to find a second technician. So, Lenny.
Okay.
You found him?
Yeah, real quick. Lenny Gray, just Googling it. Lenny is a master at creating door-to-door programs from scratch. So it looks like he wrote the book Door-to-Door Millionaire. Continued in the industry selling pest control during college, odd jobs for cleaning companies, things like that, just going from the socials. So
there you go, Lenny.
There we go. That's who Lenny Gray is.
Okay. We do know Lenny Gray. And no, I didn't know who he was before that. Let's see. That being said, I bought both his books and use his door-to-door sales techniques in my business. Okay, I'm going to stop you there, Brad, because when is that one coming out? I don't know when the sales episode's coming out. It may have already been out by the time you guys get this. May not be April 1st.
May not be, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, a sales one's coming out. Throw his book away. Nothing against you, Lenny, if you do ever listen. But some of the old school stuff isn't that relevant to today. It may still work, but there is such a better way to do door-to-door than what we were doing it back then. And I'm sure the book that you're reading was exactly what I was doing when I was out there with a binder or a clipboard, because that's like the door-to-door game didn't change for decades.
Yeah.
And now they're starting to change what they're actually doing out there. So just a heads up, you may like his stuff, but it may be very, very outdated unless he's come out with some new stuff or he's revised that book.
Sure.
But just a heads up on that. He also said, I will not spend money on anything but door hangers. My customers will come from door knocking and referrals. Google wants me to fix problems before they will allow me to show up on local. So F Google for now. We'll see. Brad, just do it. Stop being lazy. Stop being old. Okay. You need to do the stuff that Google wants you to do. That's going to make life so much easier, and that's going to start bringing in so much more business and quicker, and it's going to be automated. And I'm not just saying this to go pay Google all this money or start jumping through all these hoops. It's legitimate. Like, really do it. And you're going to start to see how once you get it done, it becomes automated and you don't have to go back or keep knocking doors or handing out door hangers. You're trying to eliminate the work that you're doing, not add more to it. So just throwing that out there. And so then he did say, my steps are knocking the neighbors of my customers. Smart. Super smart. Get all the neighbors you can on. And then he did say he is going to let us know about his success and failures.
Please do.
Yeah, please. So there we go. We got it.
Yeah.
That is Brad. And thank you for the recap too.
And it is refreshing, somebody who knows what they want and who understands what they're getting themselves into.
Honestly, yeah, it does. It really does. So, Brad, keep it up, push hard through it. I know it's going to be rough. It's going to be hard. But hopefully you can at least create something for you for the next couple of years until you can retire.
Yeah.
It'll keep you busy and you're not going to have to babysit anybody but yourself. But it's going to be a rough ride for a little bit, and it's going to be a lot tougher than what you're doing right now. I know you have to babysit technicians right now, but you don't get vacation. That's not really in the cards. You may only pull on enough accounts to, get you by, and then you can go on vacation. Just get all the jobs done in the first 2 weeks, and then you got 2 weeks to take off. But there's not benefits. There's nothing like that. So, be prepared for it.
Yeah.
So the next question I had is actually on my phone, and that came through Instagram, and he was actually listening to RUP, so restricted use products. And he asked where we got that information from. Aaron, where do we get some of that information from?
NPMA, our local distributor, PCT, our local pest control operators committee, whatever
PCOC.
state you're in. Yep, PCOC, because it's California. Looking it up online.
Yeah, he said he did try to look it up online. And so you have to be pretty careful about how you do it.
Why is that?
Well, because if you just type in RUP, it's not going to pull up anything other than restricted use products. The problem is restricted use products are any product that's restricted use. So it's not just the pest control world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you go in and you just are like, hey, RUPs or chemical or like what we did, Bitrix. What's that?
Yeah.
I don't know. We looked it up. It's in a actual rodenticide. Like, we didn't know what it was. Come to find out, it's for kids and you can buy it on Amazon.
Yeah.
So it's like, so a lot of things that we have in our industry, you have to ask it in a proper way or you're not going to get the proper answer. Mm-hmm. Same thing if anybody goes on Google and just cockroaches. Well, yeah, you're going to get every single cockroach that's in the world and the most Googled cockroach, right? So finding a German cockroach, you may not actually see.
Right. I see what you're saying. Just getting specific with how you're actually looking at material.
Yeah. So when you're looking up restricted use products, make sure that you're putting in restricted use products, pest control products, or pest control restricted use products, right?
Yeah.
Pesticide restricted use products, rodenticide restricted use products. Look that stuff up. But yes, we pulled these, all this information came from PCT magazine. So from articles that they've generated, like Aaron said, coming from PCOC, which is Pest Control Operators of California. Every state has their own. NPMA, National Pest Management Association. You can find a lot of this information all throughout, and it's all coming up. Sure. And if you go in, actually this next question that we have is going to kind of jump into some of this stuff, but just look up your local distributor, local provider, and they're going to start bringing in and helping you out where to go, what to look for, and point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into the next novel that was written.
No, this is a good one, and I read through it a little bit more than Daniel did before, so I'm excited to jump in. He did give us permission. So Johnny, thank you so much for your question. Thank you for being a listener. So we're going to be reading through the whole thing. I'll stop. You stop me if you think it's a good stopping point.
Absolutely. I will stop you.
I know you will. Hey, this is Johnny. Hey, Johnny.
Hey, Johnny.
I've been listening to your podcast for about 2.5 years now, and I really like it and even gone back and listened to a lot of your old episodes. I love listening to your question and answer episodes at the end of the month. I've been in the pest control industry for about 3.5 years, and I love what I'm doing here. I have a question that comes up. I usually read a bunch of people's opinions and then make up my own, but for some reason I don't feel settled on this one question. I've been going through a rodent course that is put on by NWCOA and have done a lot of NCOA and done a lot of self-studying. I do know that you guys have been through the Rodent Academy and would probably have more insight on this than I do, so let me get into it. On our team, there's about 6 working technicians in the field, including myself. Our company recently hired a new technician. He seemed great at first and really seemed interested in learning. He went ahead and got the Connecticut NWCO license, which allows him to do wildlife in Connecticut. I am the top wildlife technician on our team, so I was given the task of training him. We don't go on many jobs together, but when we do, it's usually a wildlife job, and he seems willing to learn. Unfortunately, he has had no prior experience and has only been in general pest control for about 1.5 years before he came to our company. He is very hard to teach, I think mostly because he always thinks he's right. He also didn't grow up doing any manual labor, so getting him to do any sort of wildlife work is a very slow process. Good so far?
Yeah. Okay. Keep going. Yeah.
I love sharing knowledge I have with other people, so it has been fun, but it has definitely put a strain on my pest control, or definitely put a strain on my patience. I did grow up in construction and had a working knowledge of how structures were built, and when I got into pest control, it helped me expand my knowledge extremely quickly, and I am extremely efficient at my job. Here we go. The question I have is about how we treat for rodents. Our company uses rodenticides indoors. We will go around and seal up any holes we can find on the exterior. I am usually very thorough and find areas the rodents are getting in. If I can't seal it with mesh or excluder, I will let the customer know they have to get it fixed for price them out a job to get it repaired. For the inside, we do place rodenticides in the attic, basement, and sometimes kitchen, depending on where I see the activity and sebum. If there are any holes on the inside of the building, between floors or into living space, I explain to the customer that I would highly discourage filling any holes because the only thing that will do on the inside is keep them out of sight. As much as this might sound good to the homeowner, however, it is not a long-term solution. The mouse that is in the wall or spot that we fill in will stay there, and they will either have to work their way into the attic or basement, get caught/poisoned. I would rather put a bait station where the sebum trails underneath the sink and have the mice get the bait, eat it, and die This would eliminate the mice, although the homeowner might have a chance of seeing them out in living space.
Okay. Still going?
Oh yeah, there's a lot more.
Okay, keep going. Okay. We haven't gotten to a question yet. So
I'll keep going.
Oh yeah.
We're about halfway through.
Okay.
My coworker that was recently hired does the exact opposite. He fills in any hole he can find inside. I have asked him numerous times why he does this, and he said he would rather the mice in the unfinished areas, such as walls or basement or attic, than have them come out in the living area. He also puts a bait station in these areas, and he's sealed just in case he misses a hole. He says 50% of the time he doesn't have activity in the bait station, which means he's sealed up all the holes, and the other 50% of the time he has activity in them, which means he missed a hole. He said this is the only way to do it, and he won't hear it any other way. I have spoken to my boss about it, and he says it's totally up to the technician on how they want to treat the house for mice. I am totally fine with that, but we have had a lot of callbacks after this mouse services, and I was wondering if this is because of the way he treats them or something else. It could also be that he doesn't fill in the holes on the outside, which I don't blame him for because it's not required. It's just something I usually do as courtesy to the customer. As I say, the boss doesn't have any procedure to go by. I have pretty much just accepted the fact that some technicians are better than others and everybody has a different way of doing things. I am definitely not going to make an issue and get on the bad side of anybody. I just try to be the best technician I can be, and I'm not sure if I'm in the right or wrong in the way I'm doing things. I look forward to hearing your response. Sorry it's so wordy, so please don't spare the courtesy on my part. I really want to hear your opinion. Even if I need to be corrected, I'm always up to learning and hearing other people's opinions. Definitely, I think it helps me be a better technician. Please use my name, Johnny, on the podcast. Thanks. Thank you. You do have a little excerpt that we'll add in at the end, but where do we start?
First things first is it sounds like you've been thrown on with this guy. I don't think we're getting the full picture once again. I think some of it is thank you for sending it in, of course.
100%.
Yeah. But I don't think we're getting the full story. One is, why would he send you, if you're training this guy on the wildlife side and you're the top wildlife guy, and you only go on jobs every once in a great while, that's not really training. That's more babysitting at that point. Mm-hmm. They're just sending you with this guy to see what's going on, to make sure everything's okay. Mm-hmm. Because they trust you, but I don't think it's training, mm-hmm. in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It doesn't sound like training. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I would go with that for the beginning, because that doesn't sound like it's a real training experience. As it goes on, I don't agree with the owner not having a procedure. If you do not have a procedure, the problem is your results start to vary so greatly within what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do things. It starts to become an issue. Meaning, Daniel, you've heard in past episodes, I want Daniel because he does this, or I want Aaron because he does this. I don't want Daniel because he's not Aaron. Right? So you start to get into these issues where if it was streamlined across the board, I don't agree with the owner at this point. Mm-hmm. I don't know who the owner is. He's obviously just kind of doesn't care either, it sounds like. And he wants to leave it up to the technicians. I don't agree with that. I fight the technicians on that because technicians aren't always right. And some technicians are lazy. Mm-hmm. Johnny, you nailed it on the head, man. Some guys just don't. They're better than others. And the ones that aren't as good as the other guys, you can't assume that they're going to be just as good as the next.
Yeah.
So we create boundaries and structure so everybody's at least at that base standard. You're not going to be below. You can't. We can't allow you to be below that. Mm-hmm. So we create that standard to keep you above the normal average. Are you exceeding that? Some guys do. Those are the great ones.
Yeah.
Some don't. Those ones are crappy, right? So you just kind of get into that. It doesn't, I don't agree with the owner. But to answer his question more directly is if you're doing it right, or I guess what was the specific question?
It was about the exclusion itself. So basically he's saying that he seals up Johnny. He will do an exterior inspection, interior inspection. He'll seal all the entry points on the outside. When he baits or I didn't mention anything about trapping. So maybe we'll add that in. But
he did say trapping in there. It just didn't specifically state. He said they just bait. But he did say traps somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm. Point is he leaves the entry points on the inside open, you know, whether it's connecting from kitchen cabinet to kitchen cabinet or, you know, just so that way, and he'll place, you know, like a small bait station where he sees the sebum or sees the droppings. Mm-hmm. The other guy with the 50-50 rate says that he patches everything or everything he can find, and then 50% of the time it works, 50% of the time it doesn't. So,
okay. So then jumping into that, I guess my answer to him is if you're doing it right, or if that other guy's doing it right, I'm going to say you both are doing it wrong.
Okay.
Right? You both are doing it wrong. And I'm also going to say you both are doing it right.
Okay.
The reason why I'm saying that, and I tell so many people this when I'm training guys or if I've been out with guys, is there's not one way to kill something. There's not one way to treat for an insect. There's not one way to get rid of a rodent. Now, the problem is that the way that he's doing it and the way that you're doing it, you may both get results. Mm-hmm. Maybe, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
You may not get results. If you're constantly testing your theory out, what you're doing, and yes, it's a theory because it's not 100% known that it works every single time, and I guarantee you it doesn't. And there's probably times you go back and you do a callback because even how we do things here, we have to change it. We get a different set of eyes on it and we check out what we're doing. But it changes so much that what you're doing may work now, but it may not work in another situation. Sure. The other problem is I look at it, I'll tell you the flaws on both sides, right? You seal up the holes on the inside. Cool. In my mind, it makes sense what he's thinking. I'm going to force them up to the attic. I'm going to force them down to the crawl space or basement. And that's going to force them out because I didn't seal up the holes on the outside. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Good job.
Makes sense.
Bad thing is you didn't seal up the holes on the outside. So now they're just going to come in and out as they please. So you're going to constantly have issues nonstop, and you're going to always have to put out bait stations. Mm-hmm. Okay. I see a flaw, but I also see where he's coming from. Mm-hmm. Doesn't make too much sense in the long run, but in the short run, I guess it does. If it's a proven fact that they're all going to leave, I can hurry and seal up those holes and they can't come back in.
Sure.
But he's not doing that, at least from what you said, Johnny. Mm-hmm. Holes in yours. Yeah, I get it. You're sealing up everything. Whatever's sealed up inside, you seal them up. You're putting bait stations next to the holes that they're coming out of. The only problem that you're going to run into, you're dealing with mice. You're dealing with rats. You're dealing with a pest that can go right past your bait station into that awesome loaf of bread that's sitting on the countertop. Mm-hmm. Why would they go to your bait station? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Do they always go to the bait station? You could argue and say yes. I'm going to say probably not. Mm-hmm. Not every single time. If there's one thing I've learned from going to the Rodent Academy and going to Pest World and sitting through all these classes is we don't really know. Mm-hmm. There's bait stations that we place right next to dumpsters. Bait that's fresh. They still go into the dumpster and not the bait station. Mm-hmm. So why would they not go past your bait station inside a house to fresh food?
True.
And who's saying that they didn't bring a stack of food back with them? Because we just had a video at an apartment complex of a mouse pulling off an entire piece of bread.
Whole piece of bread.
And pulling it down and into its hole so it can have a feast.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even need to leave anymore. It doesn't need to eat your bait. It's got it right next to its house because some people would think, well, I made it easy for them. Where they're living, where they're nesting, I have a bait station, which is food. Well, what if they grabbed all this nice quality food and started stacking it and storing it in their nest?
Yeah.
We don't need your bait.
They're set.
They're set. Mm-hmm. So there's some good and there's some bad in both ways of thinking.
Yeah.
That's why we use trapping. There is no eating the bait in hopes that it works. There is no, hey, you're going to go for the bait. It's we're working with the customer, take all the food sources away. We're forcing you to our snap trap. We are catching a dead rat and pulling it out. We know there's one less. I can show you.
Yes.
The bait station, you don't know where it died. Died up in the attic? Cool. Died in the basement? Cool. Died outside and another animal ate it? Cool. But we don't know. We hope.
Yeah.
You know, there's no level of control, at least in what you're saying. There may be more to it, but it doesn't sound like you're able to keep track of where and how many rodents are going on.
Right.
What's cool is you are giving them a ton of food. So if the customer cleans everything up, the only thing they have is poison, which is cool.
Right.
You know, but now it's going to be a stinky mess.
It is.
So that's my 2 cents on it. I have some other stuff I'll say, but I don't want to go much further into that. But that's what I would say about it. You're both right. You're both wrong. I think there's a way better way to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't think we need to get into it in this episode. What do you think?
Okay. I'll do it the same order you did.
Okay.
I agree with Daniel because when you allow technicians to make their own decisions, you know, I understand you want to have resourceful technicians. You want to have people making good decisions and efficient decisions, right? But at the same time, there has to be a standard. There has to be some level of consistency because you really start to get those really high and low variables about this is always going to work or this is never going to work. You know, going back to the Rodent Academy, you know, I went maybe a year into my tenure in the pest control industry, maybe less. But I think the most fascinating thing I found out is when you get all these different people and opinions and they grouped us up together and they had a scenario on the board where it was, you know, Daniel and, you know, Aaron have this house and they have like rodent issues coming in and they give us like fake scenarios about like trees against the home and, you know, entry points, and we have to build like a rodent control program for them. Yeah. And they pair you with people that you didn't come with. So you have like 4 or 5 people you've never met. You have to come up with a solution.
Yes.
The crazy or like the fascinating thing is we all came up with a solution. Every group's wildly different. Prices were all over the place. But the person who was running it, all of our, you know, our procedures and what we were planning to do, it all made sense and it would work in their eyes.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of going back to, even though there's not only one way to do something, there has to be a standard for at least implementation of looking at a rodent project or looking at a rodent inspection. You know, you can't only inspect certain things with one guy and only inspect certain things with the other guy, or someone can't just quote trapping and baiting while someone's only doing baiting and exclusion. Like at least that sense of it has to be uniform, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Now going down to the actual rodent work of it, you know, we won't get into specifics, but there's too much up to chance.
Yeah.
And I know that it's an animal and there's always going to be a chance and there's no guarantees, you know, when we go out to rodent jobs, even the one I was just at, you know, we get asked all the time, you know, am I going to have rodents? Like, and, you know, this particular customer had trees hanging over, so we were quoting some tree trimming, and it's like, yes, it's like there are rodents that live in this neighborhood. It's there's vines everywhere, like orange trees, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's like, you're going to have tons of stuff. They're so used to coming into this area. What I'm looking for is keeping them out of the home, because right when I popped that like attic cover, it was just like raining droppings on me, you know, and that's the biggest concern, right?
Yeah.
So I think looking at it, and when you're talking about your boss, I do sense that you say that you're fine with it, but you're obviously not fine with it, and you shouldn't be, you know, if you actually care about getting results. And I think if you want something to change, you know, my opinion on that is, if you do have whether you have a good relationship or not good relationship, if you want to change something, it's to me, it's presenting it to him in a way, hey, this is how many callbacks that we have on a monthly basis for mice and rodent jobs. I'm finding that this is working sometimes and this is working none of the time. And I think that we should have a consistent level of something. Now, when it comes to actually sealing the holes or how you do certain things, I guess, there could be a little bit of, if there's like a hole like the size of this phone, me and Daniel, with a wall in between us, we'd probably seal it up pretty much the same, but it might look a little bit different, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But the idea is we both understand that hole has to get sealed up, and I think that has to get cleared up by the owner. And if you haven't communicated that with him, I wouldn't be scared to. I mean, if you really want more success and more consistency in your rodent jobs, but what do you think?
Well, and that's what I was getting into, is why I don't think it's a real training. I don't think you're training this person. I think that's right. They're getting in. And this is what I wanted to add, is who you're dealing with and how you're dealing it with them directly is they're seeing it in a different way. This guy's getting some feedback somewhere else. Because if I've never done it before and I haven't gone through this, where is he getting this information? How does he know? I mean, I know there's ignorant people out there.
Sure.
I mean, there's really ignorant, dumb people. But there's no way that this guy is just creating this up in his head and he's never done it before.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
So he is getting training from somebody that's telling him to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is, you know what? At the end of the day, who cares? Who cares what this guy's doing? And I'm saying this to breathe, breathe, relax, you're okay. I've had these conversations with other technicians who are going into apartment complexes. They want to do certain treatments and take care of all these things and do it this way, which would do everything. I mean, it literally would help this complex out. Mm-hmm. But the owner of the complex doesn't want to pay for it. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah, we just talked about that because we had, some guy was so frustrated about it,
Yeah, and it's just breathe, man. It's okay. Like, there's nothing we can do. Mm-hmm. I want to take care of the problem too. I've spent my time inspecting all the units. I spent my time preparing a quote for the owner. I spent all that time just to get rejected time and time again. I even gave him a killer deal to do it, and he still came back and said no.
Yeah.
He didn't want to spend a dime on it. But that's the thing that you got to understand is it's not your business. That guy you're training or you've gone on jobs with, he's not your employee. Mm-hmm. You're not paying his paycheck, and it's not really your customer. Now, if you are going behind him and cleaning up all of his trash, yes, I would have an issue. Mm-hmm. Yes, I would go to Aaron and I'd say, Aaron, you're making me go behind this guy that I was supposed to be training, and he's not doing it the right way. I'm doing all of his callbacks. I'm cleaning up his messes so he looks good. He's not good. He doesn't look good. Mm-hmm. There's nothing good about this. We're losing. We're not winning here.
Yeah.
We're losing, and I'm getting the shit for it. Yeah. So, let's fix it. Mm-hmm. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
If it doesn't come back on you, guess what, dude? Let him crash and burn. Who cares? He's not a guy who wants to be in the technician world. He's not a true pest control technician. That's fine.
Yeah.
Let him do him. I mean, it's like, relax. I know it sucks. I know it makes you cringe, We hear it too. We hear stories from people that come on, they're guests. We're out in the field. We see what our guys are doing. And there's stuff we're like, why? Mm-hmm. And it's not even what we taught. It's what they created in their own head to make sense. So, Johnny, I understand the pain, but also don't let it get to you because it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. There's another body. He's helping you. If he's going to do it his way, let him do it his way. And just relax.
Yeah.
Have fun with it. Mm-hmm. Or do what I did with one of my brothers is no one could ever give him an idea. He had to come up with his own idea. Even a brother-in-law actually had to come up with his own idea. He had to be the creator.
Oh, okay.
And so it was, hey, what do you think about this? And then they would come up with the idea, and then he'd be like, oh, this is my idea. And it's like, good job. That was your idea. Cool. I really don't care. Like, I don't care whose idea it was. I just want something better. And if it's having him have this grandiose idea, cool. Here, dude, have the amazing idea and take on the credit, because at the end of the day, it makes my life easier and we're better off.
Everybody wins.
Yeah. So if that's how this guy is too while you're training, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Last part, or did you want to add on to his?
We're not going to do the last part, but I do want to add on to that, though.
Okay. You're not going to read the last part?
No, I will.
Oh, okay.
You know, I do hope you obviously listen. So I'm actually curious when, you know, I hope you follow up with us, because I'm curious. Now I have a question for you, Johnny. What does the training program look like? And what does...
That's a good question.
You know, and how, or have you even brought this up with the owner or management? Because based on this, it seems like it's the owner and everybody else, right? I mean, there may be a manager here and there, but I'm more interested in the dynamic and where the responsibilities lie in that. Because if the owner is making the decisions, but also intentionally not making the decisions, then there's something missing. You know what I mean? If the owner's leaving up to the technicians to make those decisions, you know what I mean? There's something missing there where I'm trying to connect the dots. So yeah, please help us out.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get a big old, we're going to get an easy button right here. And every time we hear that, we're going to press it.
Hear what?
When they're trying to hit the easy button, the owner's hitting the easy button. The owner isn't creating a training program because it's hard. And so he's finding people with construction background to put them in there so he doesn't have to train them. He's hitting the easy button. He's just easy button all day long. It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not going to help him. It's not consistent, but he's hitting the easy button. This other guy's doing the same thing. Instead of sealing up the outside holes around the property, doing the proper steps to get rid of rodents, he's just hitting the easy button. If I seal up everything on the inside, customers don't see anything. If there's any stragglers, they eat the bait and die. And then who cares if they're running up and down the walls?
Yeah.
No, you're not seeing them, are you? No? Cool. Who cares?
Yeah, they're out of sight, out of mind.
Boom. Easy button.
There we go.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. That's why.
Okay. Now, on to the last excerpt.
Yes.
So please, Johnny, let us know, because I'm
Please.
curious.
Yeah.
Now, lastly, he says, this is not a question, but just a little something some of your listeners could benefit from. I've heard a few questions lately on your podcast about where to gain knowledge. When I first came into the industry, I didn't really know where to go for a lot of learning. I found podcasts shortly after I started. I love reading books. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Pest Daily. I haven't heard this before this year's Wildlife Expo in Texas. Oh, yeah. I was kind of disappointed not to see you guys there.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
Anyways, Pest Daily is a video-based pest control training. They have great courses, and I've been loving the knowledge I'm receiving them. And also, you guys have mentioned in the past that reading a pesticide label is a great way to get knowledgeable on what you're treating. Stay tuned. I love reading labels. I personally use Speechify. It's an app that turns PDF files into audio, which I listen to while I'm driving through my route. Sometimes it's hard to listen to everything on a label because some things you just have to breeze over, but I found it very helpful, sent from my iPhone.
Yeah, no, and thank you, Johnny, for that, because that is huge. You know, that is a way to do it if you want to listen, use Speechify. The only thing that me and Aaron were talking about is, in which I haven't tried, so I don't know how it would translate over. How do you know the dilution rates? It's going to hit a table and it's going to start reading off a bunch of insects and the dilution rate that goes with it. Where does that Speechify get into? Or does it just graph?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea. I've never used it, but those are really good tips out in the field. If you guys are running around, Speechify, PDF files, done. You can get all the PDF files from a million different websites. But if there's a big old label on it, on the actual label, it will say BASF.
Yeah.
It will say Control Solutions. It will say all those, CSI. I think that is Control. Anyway, I don't know all the brands.
Yeah.
But all the brands that do, they have their own PDFs online and on their website, and you can look them up pretty easily.
Yeah.
So
I think that's good. In terms of information, at least for me, I try to pull it from different sources. So it's experiences in the field mixed with, because I'm curious, I like figuring stuff out, especially when it's trial and error. So that comes a lot from that. But also, I resort to labels obviously. I resort to YouTube. I resort to the internet. I ask Daniel. I ask even customers and if I'm dealing with stuff and, I'm like, hey, you guys had this issue, how's, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to pull in so many different things to apply, because when I'm in a tough situation, I feel that going back to the drawing board and looking at it from a fresh perspective is usually my best go-to. Like if I'm feeling like a rodent situation, cockroach situation, it's like I've been there and I tried implementing this program and it's not working. I'm getting frustrated. I'm like, whew, big breath. What am I missing here? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And it's like, then I take a breath and I'm like, holy shit, there's like so many vines and trees just going up the side of the house. It's like a wide open eave pocket. I'm sitting here focusing on this little this crawl space door that's not closing properly and I'm freaking out. And it's like, just be resourceful is kind of my point. Diversify where you're getting information from. Take everything with a grain of salt. Nothing that we say on here is gospel, and it shouldn't be, because things do change. So, I doubt everything. And I think it's just good practice.
Yeah, no. And going back 2.5 years and you've been listening to the podcast, it sounds like since we kind of started, that's awesome. And some of the stuff that we put out from the very beginning, it's still up and active, but it's not necessarily relevant in today, especially when it comes to rodenticides and with the changes that we have had. So we've had to customize our programs. We've had to change things. So what I've said in the past, which is good stuff, but it's just, it may not be up to par with what we can do now in California. Obviously where you're from, it doesn't matter. You may have better, more lenient laws than we do, but just keep that in mind that, this stuff is going to change all the time. It is changing consistently. And that's why we consistently come out with new episodes, and some of the episodes are going to be repeats of past episodes. They're just now revised and new.
True.
And there's a reason behind that,
because
some of the stuff that we did teach doesn't work anymore.
Very true.
We had to change, we had to learn, we had to grow. Going back to Brad with cells, that's a big thing. Like cells is different, right? Rodents are different than just bait. Just throwing bait around and hoping for the best. Like there's so much more that we can do as pest control technicians, obviously with the skills, but that we can do to prevent using more rodenticides, more pesticides, and but it's just a little bit more work.
Yeah.
It's not easy anymore. It's not spray and pray anymore. It's a little bit more methodical and thought out. And if you actually use this thing up here, some of us don't, you can actually find out a lot of solutions to basic problems that fix all this stuff, So just letting you guys know.
Well said.
Yeah.
Really good questions. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Instagram guy. Do we get a name on him?
No. Once again, it's on my phone. I remember the question. I just don't remember his name, but thank you, guy from Instagram.
Yes. Lots of great questions coming in. Q&A has been now becoming one of more of my favorite segments to do, just because the questions are getting so specific and in depth in your world. And we love that. Yeah. We love diving into this stuff. And obviously you're watching us now if you're on YouTube. So we're branching off into new things that we've been wanting to implement for a while, and we finally pulled the trigger. So thank you very much for the support. We put out episodes every Monday and Thursday. We have our Instagram, we have our YouTube. Give us a follow, give us a like, reviews as well. That helps us go a long way, because, we don't charge to put out any of this content. So the more reviews you give, the more it's exposed to people in the industry. So that way we can all be better. But thank you again for listening to the DNA Pest Control Podcast.